Welcome back, everyone. Philisiwe Mthethwa, the CEO of the National Empowerment Fund, has been crowned the 2019 CEO of the Decade. She has become the first female CEO to receive the prestigious award, and she joins me now in studio. Philisiwe, thanks so much for your time and a big congratulations. Of course, this is the crown that has essentially given you the stamp of approval for what has been quite a difficult decade to lead in South Africa's climate. My question to you would be, what traits have you held yourself accountable to ensure that you walked a path that 10 years later gives you such recognition?
Thank you very much, and thank you for the opportunity. So I think for us as an organization, it has actually been the resolve and the consciousness to do our work and to implement our mandate with integrity, with diligence and foresight, obviously paying attention to some of the macroeconomic policies of our country. But I'm just saying this is what defines our DNA as an organization. If you look at our employees who are actually driven, they are dynamic, they don't say that we are engineers and CAs and therefore we will only do the work in Sentin. It's people and employees who've been willing to actually leave their stilettos and actually put on their gumboots and go to the townships and the rural areas of our country. So I think that has really been the DNA of our organization.
But what about your DNA? Because obviously this is a very prestigious award, but this is not the first award that you have won in your career. I mean, there's been many, numerous that you have won. I mean, even the presidential award that I am being that I'm reading of now. What's in your DNA that has driven you to always pursue that excellence, and also help you steer away from the shadow of being someone's wife? We won't mention his name, but how have you managed to navigate that? Because it is quite difficult, I imagine.
Absolutely. So obviously I understand the environment that we find ourselves in as a country. I am aware of the huge inequalities that we are seeing in the economy, the high unemployment levels. So when I wake up every morning, I actually want to see the impact of our work. I don't think I would have survived in an environment where I would just maybe be responsible for conceptualizing policies. So I think it's been a great honor and a privilege for me that was given by our government to actually drive the implementation of broad-based Black economic empowerment in the economy. So if I can see the little impacts that we are making as an organization, whether we are creating 2 jobs or 5 jobs, for me it's fine. At least we are making an impact. And also it's about how do we find solutions to actually improve the lives of our people, not at a theoretical level only, but at a practical level. So that's what I've been doing, and that's what drives me.
And Philisiwe, I mean, the past 10 years have also been characterized by a number of corporate failures, and in fact many of them we are seeing come to the fore and come to the light now. With your knowledge and your experience working in the corporate sector, what do you think went wrong?
So I think it's the corporate governance lapses. That's what it all boils down to. So I think we've been very lucky as the NEF in that even if you were to look at our various corporate governance structures of our organization, those structures in the DOA, they've been very robust and effective. So if you look at what has happened in the past, obviously it talks to, do you have the right skills? Do you have the right kind of expertise that is required to actually lead that particular organization? So I think if I were to look at maybe a few gaps or a few mistakes, is actually where you would have put people who don't have any skills, no knowledge whatsoever in some of those leadership roles. So that's the first part. But obviously the second part, yeah, it just relates to the corporate governance structures that were in place. Were they robust enough to actually pick up any gaps in the system?
Sure.
Yeah, so...
Sure, and certainly, because they've been really tested now. I mean, if you look at the stories that have come out, but obviously, you know, please, I think you'd agree with me when I say that leadership is about ups and it is about downs, you know. Yes. It's not always sunshine and roses. And I'd just like to take you back to what was, I believe, quite a difficult time in your many hats and sitting on many boards when you were in the construction sector at Group 5. When you look back at that time, and the events that unfolded subsequently with the reshuffling of the board in which yourself as chair and the entire board were removed by activist shareholders, what lessons do you draw from that experience?
So it talks to the things that I have already mentioned as what drives me on a daily basis. So where I'm able to see that something is not going right, obviously, as a leader, you have to be decisive and take those decisions. So in our case, I think we did the right thing because we could see the red signals in our business to say there's something that doesn't look right here, and we had actually pointed those things out to our shareholders. Unfortunately, nobody was willing to listen to us because they kept on saying we are too powerful or strong to fail.
And which is not the case now. I mean, I'm sure you would have even followed the latest news regarding the resignation of the current CEO. And when you look at a company like Group 5, you know, one of the largest construction companies in South Africa formerly. Yeah. Now tens of thousands of jobs hang in the balance. We are still asking ourselves today, I mean, what happened?
They are not the only ones. I think it's something that has impacted the whole of the construction sector in South Africa. So what it says is that when you are doing well as a business, remember during the World Cup, 2010 World Cup, all of those construction companies were doing extremely well. So now how do you take the proceeds from those businesses and plow them back into your business? So I think that should be the lesson for other sectors as well, because it wasn't just Group 5, a lot of them are in trouble, including Avenge. I'm sure you've been following the stories, there. So, yeah, but as far as I'm concerned, the decisions that I don't think I regret anything, because from where I was sitting, this is the same, conversation that I was having with the media even at the time, that there were a lot of things that were not looking right. And obviously you remember the corruption scandal.
Yes.
Where, the South African government was saying that the big four construction companies were involved in collusive, behavior. So obviously we had to make sure that we put corrective measures in place so that we don't find ourselves in the same situation.
I mean, just as we wrap, even when you talk about regrets and you talk about hindsight, even the decision to go to Ghana and to go and tender for that project, when you talk about the economy being affected, that has hit the construction sector. I mean, we spoke about corporate governance lapses. To what degree do you think bad management has also led to not only Group 5, but a lot of these other companies falling on their knees?
Because some of those senior managers were resting on their laurels. I think that's what really happened. When you've been doing extremely well, it takes time for you to see that you are now in trouble, so that you can then, begin to pick yourself up. There was nothing wrong with that project that we had, won the bid for in Ghana. It's about how you implement it. So those are the things that we were even raising at the time, because we were talking to our different stakeholders who are coming from Japan, the Sumitomos were part of the project, and they kept on saying that you have to talk to your guys. So I would encourage South African companies to partner with, other companies on the continent. There's nothing wrong with it, but it's about how you implement those things.
Sure. Pelisiwe, thanks so much for your time talking to us about leadership, what the National Empowerment Fund is doing, and of course a whole host more. That was Pelisiwe Mthethwa, who is the CEO of the National Empowerment